Alright guys, welcome back to the Clack Shack, and tonight's video, I'm going to try to make this short and sweet. Been a long day, but I got my honeycomb in. I'm going to go over the honeycomb and what I have found, what I learned about it, the pros and cons to it. One of those cons being that without any kind of adjustments, it renders my universal or interchangeable jig kit useless because it will not work with it. But luckily I've put in the work. I've come up with a design. I'm running my second test burn on it to make sure that everything works the way I want it to, and we're going to go over that also, so stick around for a few minutes. Alright guys, here it is, hot off the press. It's an elaborate burn. It takes quite a while. It was close to a 2-hour burn, but to do what it does, I think you're going to be happy with it. So I'm going to get this moved out, and it'll be in pieces next time you see it. And I'm going to go ahead and first we're going to touch on the honeycomb and what you get with it, how it works, what my thoughts are on it, and then we'll move back over here and go over the modifications that I have made to make it an even better honeycomb. So give me just a second to get the camera set up and we'll spin around. All right guys, for this demonstration I've moved my XTool over here onto the table because my setup is highly customized now, and it wouldn't do the way this thing comes from the factory and the way that it's intended to be. It would not do it justice to put it on mine to start with. We'll move over there in just a minute. But first of all, this is the honeycomb that I received. Mine has inches on it. I know a lot of people says theirs has centimeters and millimeters. This one had inches on it. So inches it shall be, which I'm not planning on using that a whole lot. So really not a concern that I have. I guess if I didn't want it to be branded, I could have always flipped it this way and it wouldn't be branded or have the ruler on it. But I'm gonna leave it up like that and just let it rock with the logo. So in the package, it came with this thin piece of what appears to be aluminum and the honeycomb, and it came with 4 little magnets that look very similar to the ones that are on your refrigerator. They're not over powerful little magnets. I mean, they're not terrible, but I still like the ones that I have a little better. I use the one that goes with those magnetic name tags. They seem to be a lot stronger than the ones that came with. But anyway, from what I can tell, the way that this is intended to operate is basically you just take your XTool and lift it up out of the way. And this sits on top of this piece of metal here to keep from eating up your table if your table is wood or whatever. And that also allows you to be able to take that up, lift it up, and clean out from under it. These little rubber feet, I decided that it was best to use those. They do offer it a little bit of a grip, but it also leaves a little airspace underneath here. And for my vacuum table setup, I need airspace below that, because if not, it's going to defeat my whole design. But once you do that, let me raise this laser head up. I made a list, and I'll go get my list. I made a list of things that I found in its factory state that I felt like was not a good thing. So I got my list. The biggest problem that I was having when I was trying to use it this way, and I did use it this way for a period of time, just to cut some stuff and try it out, is the way that my cables are ran. When it comes to slide this way, it was hooking this back corner, was catching my cable or my hose pretty regular. So when it was operating, if it came up here and it wouldn't come back, it would catch this corner right here, and it caught it a little bit then, but it just kind of slid past it. Well, I was afraid, one, that it was going to catch and actually damage the laser, because it was going to try to move that honeycomb, or either it was going to eventually cut my cabling. And for those of y'all that noticed, because I noticed, I did put it in upside down. So we'll spin that around because that's going to bother my OCD. Y'all know I've got it bad, guys. Can't help it. Another thing that I didn't like about this setup is, if you can see this right here, the top edge of this honeycomb is even with the bottom of that rail right there. So basically what that means, the laser head didn't come up, the gantry didn't come up, nothing came up except for the bed basically came up, and it's 1 inch thick. So if you're doing like me, sometimes I'll engrave on 2 inch thick pieces of cedar. Now you're limited to, where's the top of that? Yeah, there it is right there, 1 inch. So 2 inch material is capable, is possible until you put the honeycomb on there. So that's number 2 that I didn't like. I didn't like that it was catching on the corner over here, on this little sharp corner. And then I didn't like the fact that I went from having 2 inch capacity to 1 inch capacity. Another thing, and like I said, all y'all know, and I'm sorry I'm sweating my butt off today, guys, but here it is, 9 o'clock tonight, and it is still 82 degrees in here, and I have to cut my fans off because I don't got one of those cool little microphones, and it gets hot. So bear with the sweat. Maybe I'll lose a pound or 2. But the other thing that bothered me more, I guess, than anything is that I could not get this thing centered the way that it needed to be. And if you did center it, and it got moved when you were engraving, if it comes over too far, if you don't have this thing centered right, you're gonna engrave on this nice, cool, black painted piece here with the numbers on it. And that would really bug me if I actually bumped something and it moved and it hit that. Okay, so wasn't crazy about that idea either as far as keeping it lined up. The way that this thing's built, you could actually kind of use it as a jig because it does have a right angle down here in the corner, and it's kind of a raised edge. So, you know, I don't know if I would use that over framing, but that is a possibility. And the biggest setback is that I have gotten addicted to using my jigs. They make my world so much easier. But the way that this is built, and I'll show you, for those of you that have my jig, this is what the interlocking piece looks like. And the way that this sits, there's not enough room, because if you go straight in right there, it's hitting, you know, this side over here, that's about 7/8 of an inch, and the honeycomb's an inch tall. So you can't put this between the legs and the workspace and this, because if you do, this side of the laser is going to be sitting on this thing. So that made my jig no longer usable. So all things together, I sat down and tried to figure out what would be the fix. Now the easy fix, to be quite honest with you, the easy fix would be for XTool to ship with the honeycomb a set of 1 inch spacers, risers to go on the legs. That'd be the easy fix, because that would raise this up 1 inch, which would maintain the same amount of clearance that you had before you started using the honeycomb, and it would have also allowed my jig to work. But they didn't include a 1 inch riser. The 2 inch risers are too much. If you put the 2 inch risers on here, run the honeycomb, and you're doing a 3mm piece of wood, you do not have enough downward adjustment. The laser will be beyond the locking capacity of that little thumb screw right there. So, because I tried that didn't work, because I thought maybe that was their intent, was to use those legs, but that didn't work. So, how did I fix it? I created a burn file. And what my burn file does is it actually, I have managed to ball 3 different things into one file. It looks like a puzzle, and guys, I mean, seriously, it is kind of a puzzle. Each one of the pieces are marked. You've got left rear, right rear, and they're all marked, right rear. You'll have 4 matching pieces of each configuration. And then this is right front, right front. And the right front one's real distinct because I had to cut a hole out for the Wi-Fi antenna. So Right front is the easiest one to recognize. Then you got left front, and then I got another one, left rear. Like I said, they're all stenciled during the burn. That way you can sort these things out and stack them appropriately. Right rear, letters go up. I try to make, when I make these jigs and make these things, I try to make them as simple as possible so that anybody can do it with any amount of, if you can run your laser, you can make them. And I try not to make them where they require a whole lot of power tools and woodworking knowledge, because I understand that not everybody that has a laser does woodworking. So I try to avoid all that. And for those of us that don't have 3D printers and all those cool things, wood is the easiest medium to create with. And so what I've done is you've got these 4 pieces, and you can actually stack these things. You can stack as many of these as you want, but in order to use my jig, this is 4.8 millimeter Luan. And yes, I'm still not happy with this stuff. They didn't have what I normally run when I bought this, and so I had to get what they had. Still not crazy about it. So all these pieces are clones of each other. Now, there is a tool that is going to make your life easier. You're going to need some glue for this. And as always, I recommend Titebond. That's what I use on my stuff. And you're going to need some of these high dollar wood dowels right here. And the reason I went with these high dollar wood dowels is they're pretty much available everywhere. You may know them as toothpicks, but in this application, we're going to use them as wood dowels. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take these 4 pieces that match, and you're going to make sure that on the top, the very top, the top is signified by the side with the engraving. You got to put the one that has the hole in it. All right, and I'm not going to glue these because I don't want to have to sit and wait on the video, you know, for glue. And then you're going to take one of these high dollar dowels right here and basically push through this hole. Now it's going to be tight depending on how tight your circumference of your laser is, and it's going to be tight. You may actually have to break the top off of it and kind of tap it with a hammer or something. But you can put, when you put the glue on here and get them lined up, these holes are basically to assist you in lining everything up, because I understand not all of us have a drawer full of clamps like I do. So basically you're going to screw this dowel, also known as a toothpick. Now don't stab yourself. If you stab yourself, that's on you. Don't come blaming me, all right? I'm just designing this thing to where anybody with a Dollar General can build it, okay? So technically that would work. I would still use glue, but then once you get that high dollar wood dowel in there, you just snap it off. All right, you just grab it and just snap it off, and that'll be, you know, like so. Assuming that you did what I told you and you put glue in here, once you go around this guy and you snap these dowels off, all right, now you've got it put together. It's going to stay lined up, so you don't have to worry about, oh, I don't have a, you know, a vise or a wood clamp or anything like that. And then once you get the wood dowels cut off, you've got your glue inside here. You're going to set it on a flat surface and lay something heavy on it. And if, depending on how messy you are with the glue, you may want to put some cellophane, a thin piece of paper, or something between this and your book. Because if you're messy with the glue, you may glue your book to this. So try not to be too messy. I just put just a little dab will do you when you're dealing with Titebond. But that's how they go together. And that'll stay together long enough for your glue to sit once you put weight on it. And if these little high-speed, low-drag dowels bother you, I'm sorry. But that was the simplest, most economical way I could come up with. All right, this thing of dowels cost me 99 cents. I can make quite a few of these jigs with this. So I'm gonna run you through the process because I'll take these apart if I need to. I've got a few of my buddies that help me out on jobs and stuff that have the XTool here locally. And if you're watching this video, I'll just make it easy. Whichever one of you gets to me first in person, comes to the Clack Shack, you can have it. The other guy, I'm sorry. So we're gonna go through this again. And like I said, I'm not I'm not what some folks consider to be an educated man or a smart man, okay? So I tried to make this very simple for everybody. Wood dowel, all right, through the hole. These holes are lined up. So if for some reason your wood dowel don't go through, either your laser didn't cut all the way through the hole and you got a little blockage, or either you got the wrong piece in your hand, because I did random them up a little bit on the location in each piece so that when you went to put them together, the holes wouldn't line up. And a couple of these didn't burn as good as I'd hoped, so I'm gonna have to work on this one a little bit to get it to go. I may actually have a piece of wood in there still. I do. And if you have small Torx screwdrivers, they're really great for getting these little pieces of wood out. Just don't stab yourself. But that was a problem there. So I'm gonna leave my little screwdriver there. But you put your expensive piece of dowel here and put it through the hole. And like I said, once you get it in a hole, you're just simply gonna snap them off. Doesn't take a lot of force to snap these guys. They're toothpicks. All right, so you get that out, you get the process. So once you get them put together like this, they're glued, they're put together. If you wanna paint them, paint them. If you wanna sand them, whatever you wanna do to them, that's fine. Another option that you have, if you don't wanna use these holes for my high-speed dowels, is you can get you a screw, which is what I've done. I have actually screwed these to my work table, and I'm gonna take you over there and show you how it works. And that way I can take mine over and set it up. And it's exactly where I want it every time. So I hope everybody's figured out how these go together, how simple they are. It's basically a bunch of pieces of wood, you fasten them together. They serve as a spacer to raise the laser up. And the cool thing is if you want yours higher, just keep adding. I mean, you're not gonna need but one of these with the hole in it, but you can go in there and just burn another set and get you some more of the blank ones, and you can make this thing as tall as you want to. Because trust me, here in the country, we know a thing or two about putting lift kits on stuff. So, and that's basically all I have done is built a lift kit for the XTool D1 that also holds this still and allows you to use my jig. So I'm gonna take and move the first part that I need to move over is my honeycomb. So I'm gonna move it over to my vacuum table, and I'm gonna show you how easy this is now that I've got mine set up. I am not gonna be needing the piece of aluminum they sent, so I'm gonna leave that behind. I'm gonna move you over to my table. All right, guys, I got a few little holes from the last burn on my table still. But as you can see, I have the very same pieces right here. This was my version 1. That's version 2. And so all I changed was the little tiny holes, and I did a reburn. But this sits in here. I push it into the back first. Now, one thing I will say, these little rubber things that they send you, I thought those were actually a really good idea. And reason being is there's a rivet here and here. And so in my burn, before you get it and say, hey, it's loose and wobbly, I took into consideration that these little rubber things were gonna be on here. And those actually serve as a bit of a locking mechanism to help hold this thing in there, because they're kind of sticky and they kind of press a little. And so you just sit it down against the top of these holes, and all I've got to do is put a little bit of pressure in, just enough to squish that rubber on the other end down there, and let this guy slide into the hole. Because you want it all the way flat. All 4 corners, you want it flat, okay? Those little rubber pieces will allow airspace underneath the honeycomb. But as you can see, my honeycomb ain't moving, all right? It ain't going nowhere. So now I've got my honeycomb in place. And keep in mind, I have a metal plate, so that's why I'm not using their little piece of aluminum, is because I already had metal on my vacuum table. And I got my honeycomb in place, so now let me get the XTool. And I take my XTool out a lot doing stove covers and tables and stuff like that, so being able to pull it out and put it back in consistently and accurately is important. And the way I do it is I lay it over, These things have a little bit of a runway before you get to the hole. I'll let it slide on those until it drops into those 2 back holes. And then you just drop it down on the front and just make sure that all 4 legs sit in these holes. Now, I built these things thinking that some of you guys may want to screw them down. And so there is room on the inside. If you come up to the front of the machine, there's room between the honeycomb and the side rail. There's, let me get my ruler. There is almost an inch, I'm gonna say 7/8 of an inch gap between the outer edge of the honeycomb and the side rails. And there's just enough wood exposed that you can come straight from here, straight down, and put a screw into your table if you so choose. That 7/8 of an inch gap also exists on this side, because by the nature of this design, it's gonna keep this honeycomb centered, okay? So the honeycomb's not gonna be too far this way, it's not gonna be too far that way, it's not gonna be too far that way, it's not gonna be too far this way. So that works, and that's how that works. And now, using my system, you got a lot more bed space. But I forgot the most important part for some of you guys. So give me just a second. I apologize. I didn't think about it, but let me take this over here. I've got something I need to attach. All right, so we're going back with it, guys. I left my interchanger off of it. So line it up. It's a little harder with the interchanger on it because you can't see it as well. So I need a flashlight. There we go. It dropped down. All right. So now I have my jig interchanger attached to my D1. Everything is locked in. Everything is in its place. That back corner is a little tight because of the wall back there. It's a little close. So now I have my jig interchanger, and guess what? It still works, guys. Still works. Once you do this, I've got blue tape on the back of my interchanging interlocker so that I can swap these out and it don't come apart on me. But yeah, there's my square edge jig. 4-inch circles. All right, got that on there. And of course, square jig. And it works. So that is my fix, guys. I will tell you too, now that I have the feet on there and I've got my interchanger back on it, it wouldn't hurt my feelings to have it just a little bit more secured right there. I may wind up giving that some Gorilla Tape before it's over with. But the cable does not hang because the way that these little blocks are built, I came out with the shoulder enough to where it pushes that cable, kind of gives it a gentle slope coming up so that the cables do not hang on that. You also have a valley over here between the bottom of the rail and the XTool. And like I said, there's 7/8 of an inch gap down both sides that will prevent the cables from getting into your workspaces easily. Good Lord, it's sweaty out here, it's hot. So that works. One more thing that I had to take into consideration, and for those of y'all who maybe are naysayers or don't believe me or whatever, I want to go ahead and show you this. I built this thing so that, and I'm going to put the laser down where you can see it. I built this thing so that no matter what you do, if you use my spacers and you put your honeycomb in here, you cannot engrave the black part on the sides of it. The laser will not reach. It likes about 1/4 of an inch on both sides as well as the front. It will not reach the frame of the honeycomb. So you don't have to concern yourself with that. The honeycomb is very close to square. I'm not going to call it completely square because there is some variable with the rubber feet on the corners of the things and the pressure, and there's some variables. So I'm not going to guarantee you that this is 100% square. You can check yours if you want when you get it, if you choose to get one, but it's a heck of a lot closer than if you just threw it in there. But that's how it works, guys, and I'm going to try to get the Etsy file uploaded. I need a good cleaning. I just got through burning this, and I've done 2-3 hour burns, so it's due for a cleaning. And I'm digging the air assist so far. I did have to make some slight modifications to my table because of the air assist as well as the honeycomb. I had some airflow fiascos that I had to deal with, but it works well. I've cut, like I said, I'm having to cut thicker wood now, and it's still working. So, like I said, if you think that this is something that you might be interested in, I'll try to have it on my Etsy as quick as I can. But it's been a long, hard day today. I got some new orphan honeybees yesterday, and I spent half the afternoon today trying to make sure that they survive because we've got some rain coming in. And so I've got stung by, I don't know, 8 or 10 honeybees. And all right, guys, I hope this video is not too trashy. I'm sweating to no end. It is hot. It is Alabama. I apologize. Like I said, by no stretch of the imaginations is this a air-conditioned, elaborate workshop. This is where I come out here to work and do my thing. I hope this helps you guys. I hope it makes it a little better. Like I said, I like the fact that I got my 2 inches of workspace back so that I can do 2-inch thick stuff. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not sure, even say a whiskey flask, I don't know with that curvature they have, I don't know that you'd be able to do them with the honeycomb without having some way of lifting that thing up a little bit. I like the fact that I know that my honeycomb is going to always be in the same spot no matter what. Even if it's not perfectly square, it is very, very close to being square. And like I said, it allows you to use my jigs, and I think my jigs are awesome. You may not think they're awesome. You may not need a jig. You may be one of those guys that can just drop a box and hit it every time. I am not that fortunate. And I also do a lot of bulk stuff. So, if I'm getting ready to do another box of these keychains here, I don't want to have to guess or spend all that time setting that thing up. I want to be able to go, okay, let me open that file. All right, let me put a piece of wood in, adjust focus, go. That's as simple as that. And I try to make my things that I engineer, my tools, my add-ons, accessories, whatever you want to call it for the XTool, I try to make them as simple as I can, and I try to make it to where ordinary people like myself who don't have, 3D printers or CNC machines or all these other stuff that have these lasers can take this file, download it for a small fee. And I would give it to you guys, but let's face it, I lose money when I'm spending time developing this stuff. Now, I will say this, I would have it whether y'all had it or not, because that's just the way I am. I build these things primarily for myself, and that's the reason I only make them for the XTool currently. I don't have another machine, so the XTool gets all my attention, and until something better comes along that can convince me to purchase, I guess I'll just keep going with my XTool. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you liked what I did. I hope it makes sense to you. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or whatever, feel free to drop that in the comments. Hit the like button and, subscribe, because you never know what I'm going to come up with next. And I'm going to put those videos out for everybody to watch and try to spread the word. And like I said, just give me some feedback. Let me know if you think this is helpful or if this is just a terrible idea. So have a good time, and I'll see you again.